Yes, you are very welcome to the site. My name's Mugalu Jeremiah, and today we are back at it, cricket once again. We are going to still be talking about the ICC Cricket World Cup Challenge League B. I don't know why the word keeps skipping my mind, but anyway, today we are back with Dennis Musali, and we are going to be going through the first games, or we can call it the first round of the first round of the ICC Cricket World Cup Challenge League B. First of all, let me first give you Dennis so that he can say hi to all of you. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Jeremiah, and I'm happy to be back on the site. And of course, like you've mentioned, to talk about the first round of the first round of the Challenge League B tournament, which has been very eventful so far and very good. So we've had three very good games.
Yes, three very good games, and one of those games is Uganda versus Singapore. Uganda are the hosts. That's one thing I can tell you. Whoever hasn't yet come down to come and watch Uganda, I would urge you to come and watch your country. We are the hosts, and it will be very we would be very proud to feel Lugogo, because last time round anyway we had a couple of occurrences whereby we had to shift the game from Lugogo to Entebbe, but this time round the game is going to be in Lugogo. Lugogo is 100% ready to host Uganda, but let's dive into that game where the Cricket Cranes took on Singapore in Entebbe. Danish Nakurani was the man of the moment, whereby he collected 6 wickets. I think that was enough for him to grab the man of the match or the player of the match performance. But Dennis, take us through. How was the game? How did you see it as yourself?
Unfortunately, maybe I was in Entebbe, but I didn't get so much of the action. I was quite busy trying to. Most times, match day number one is always difficult, so there are so many moving parts and things to repair. But on the context of the whole game, I think Uganda are very dominant. They defeated Singapore. Singapore, very, very young team. If you look at them, even on TV, those who are able to watch the game on ICC TV, they are really very young boys. And I think for them, they are looking at the future. They wouldn't mind losing to Uganda because we are the top seed and they are the bottom team among the top 6 teams. Actually, but they started well in that game. They were unbeaten. We got the first wicket after 45, when they had 45 runs. But then they had a total collapse after that. They only managed to score 40 runs for the other extra 9 wickets. So they ended up scoring only 83. And somehow Uganda, that was very easy for them. Robinson Obuya, Kenneth Waiswa and Razat Alisha with the contributions with the bat, and Uganda getting the win. So match day number one, I think, was very easy for Uganda. I felt that changing the game to Entebbe worked in Uganda's favor. The Cricket Cranes train most of the time in Entebbe, so they sort of call Entebbe their home ground. They know the ground very well. They understand the conditions. So it was going to be difficult for Singapore to upset them, unless Singapore was going to put on a big total that was going to challenge them. But once they got them out for less than 100, then Uganda was going to have it easy. They could have taken all the time they need in the world and they'll still get to the end. So I think Uganda were happy, first of all, because of the game being changed to Entebbe. Maybe for those that don't know why why that decision was made, it's because Lugogo needed a couple of more days to dry up. One of the important things about cricket is safety, and they didn't want to risk the safety of the players with a very wet, with a slightly wet outfield, not very wet, but slightly wet outfield. So since there was only one game on match day number one, the tournament officials decided to take the game to Entebbe. And I'm sure Uganda was happy of the two teams when the game was shifted to Entebbe. So Uganda winning that one very easily. Like you've mentioned, the national crown is 6 for 20 for him, a personal best in list A cricket for him, and ultimately was the difference in the game. Singapore had done well to deal with Cosmas Cheuta and Juma Miyagi, but Dinesh Nakrani with his medium pacers, change of pace, the cutters were very, very difficult to pick up by the young players. I think for them, that level, for Dinesh, it just showed he's more experienced than them. His experience coming to the fore and then helping the team to get the results. So ultimately, Uganda winning that one. And importantly, you start the tournament with a win, and that win is very important to help them, push forward, especially on a weekend that is going to be very, very important for them going forward in the tournament.
Yes. Do we have any debutants that got into a team in the match day one.
Robinson Obuya was making his List A debut for Uganda. Shurudip Mangela and Raghav Dawani as well. They were all making their list A debuts. They played T20s, but they had not played List A cricket, which is the 50-over game. So those three were making their debuts. For Mangela and Shurudip, maybe things didn't go so well, but I think Robinson made a good account of himself, got 19 at the top of the order, and he was able to show some glimpses of good play. But ultimately, it was a small total, so there was not so much in the match for him. But I think they did well. They did nothing to harm, to harm the team and their own debut moments.
Yes, in the game we are talking about, the Cricket Cranes scored 87 for 3, which enabled them to win the game by 7 wickets. That's, I think, a very, very good start, and it's one that we hope can boost the Cricket Cranes. Going on day 2 of match day 1, we got to see Hong Kong win by 3 wickets in a game that was reduced. In fact, because of the weather conditions, in a cricket game, I think it's something that Dennis is going to be explaining to us. Most of the time, games are reduced because of the weather. The overs are reduced from 50 to an agreed, would I call it an amount? An agreed number of overs. But Dennis, I think we should start with that. The weather conditions and everything. How does it get to affect this kind of games and overs getting down to an agreed number?
All right, maybe to explain it in a simple way, cricket has, if you're playing a 50-over game, a cricket over should take at least 4 minutes for it to be complete. That is, you should be done with your 6 balls within 4 minutes. So for a 50-over game, will be 50 times 4. That will give you the amount of time, for example, the first innings should take. So 50 times 4, that's about what? 200 minutes. If you divide that by 60 minutes, you get about 2.5 hours. So if you're 2.5 hours for the first innings, 2.5 hours for the second innings, that's about 5 hours in a day. So if the game starts at 10, you calculate 5 hours from 10 to get the end time. So if, let me say we come to play in Lugogo and it is raining at 10, and maybe it stops raining at 11, then they prepare the ground, blah, blah, they go through that detail, and then action is only possible from midday. So meaning it will be midday. So out of your 5 hours, you've already lost how many hours? You've already lost 2 hours. Yeah. So the umpires will use the remaining time to calculate how many overs you can be able to play. So let's say out of, we have a total of 400 minutes. We've lost maybe 100. So the umpires will calculate 300 divided by 4 to give you the number of overs you can play. So that's how the math is done. So it's just about time, and especially in these countries where we come from. For example, I'll tell you, like if you're playing in Nairobi, the game starts a bit earlier because it gets dark very early. Then in Kampala, normally we start at 10 because for us we can have sunlight up to about 6:30. So it depends on how much light you can have. For example, yesterday, match day number 2 in Entebbe, the game was stopped not because of rain, but because of poor light. There was a dark hovering over the cricket oval, and then it became so dark all of a sudden. So the umpires told the teams to go off. So light is very, very important in this game, because pace bowlers, guys like Juma Miyagi, they are not advised to bowl to you in bad lighting. So umpires take into consideration all those things. So it's just about playing with time. The available time that we have to play the game, how many overs can we be able to play, and then they do the math and then they will tell you. So it's just a time calculation thing.
It would be a very big problem if I would add to that, because I think you've explained it very well. I think I've learned something from that. But anyway, let's dive into that game whereby Hong Kong got to beat, was it Bahrain?
Yeah, Bahrain.
Yeah. It was a very high scoring game, something that surprises me within 46 overs. But take us through one or two things that you saw.
Maybe this is another thing you're also going to learn today. So the difference why there was so many runs in Lugogo. Lugogo is a small oval. a small oval and small boundaries. That's why you see people hitting sixes into the road, because it's a small oval. So it's easier to hit boundaries, and the surface is also good for batting. So compare that to Entebbe. You've been to Entebbe. You know Entebbe is such a big ground.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger ground. There's a big wave. There's a big breeze coming from the lake. So it's difficult to hit boundaries and difficult to hit sixes. So you'll not find games in Entebbe that are very high scoring. But Lugogo, because it's a smaller boundary, I can just punch the ball and it will get to the boundary. In Entebbe yesterday, people were punching the ball and you can chase the ball yourself, Jeremiah, and catch up with it. So it's a it's a smaller oval with a very quick outfield. Entebbe is a big ground with a very slow outfield. Slow outfield means if you hit the ball on the ground, it will take time to get to the boundary. But here in Lugogo, once you hit the ball, it will straight go to the boundary. So if as we go through the tournament, the games in Lugogo will always have more runs than the games in Entebbe. And the key thing for every team that is playing in Lugogo, now they will have to make sure they win games by the number of runs they've scored. So the more runs I score against you, that's the only way I'm going to beat you. So there will always be, if you're batting first, for example, you would want to make sure you score as many runs as possible. And if you don't score enough runs, for me in the second innings, I am sure I can be able to get a result. So yesterday's game was no different. Bahrain getting 200 runs. They had pinned Hong Kong a little bit, but Baba Hayat is a very classy player in this associate cricket, standing up for his team, a senior player on the side. He came in when they were under pressure, but eventually was able to score 100 not out. And that is the class of a man. That is what you want from your senior players. In difficult moments, they can be able to stand up for the team, use their experience to get them off the line. So Bahrain, unfortunately, it really looked very close, especially in the middle overs. Looked like Hong Kong were going to struggle to get the winning runs. But as long as they had Baba Hayat in there, they were going to be able to win the game. So ultimately, like I've mentioned, if you can be able to do the right things in Lugogo, don't lose so many wickets and stay in the run chase. That's what Hong Kong did. And they had someone who could be there for them all the way up to the end, who's Baba Hayat, and they were able to get the result. But I think that was a good test for them against a team like Bahrain. And that also sends a message to the other teams that Bahrain cannot be taken for granted. So I think that was a very, very good game yesterday here at the Lugogo Cricket Oval.
Yeah, Dennis will tell you that was a very good game. But I personally would add to that by saying this game, by the way, you've heard me talk over the many runs that were in this game. Bahrain scored 200 for 9, and Hong Kong came and put on 201 for 7. I think it's the statement that would be put out there. I don't know if as Uganda we can try this kind of batting. Anyway, you've been talking about Lugogo, how small it could be and how much we could fight to put on this. But I think as Uganda we are more in the defensive than the offensive. And I think this is what we may have to look at. How may you see this turn up even before we get to that game of Italy and Tanzania?
Uganda has 2 games in Lugogo this weekend. And I think the game against Tanzania on Saturday and then Hong Kong on Sunday. But we have players in that team who can score runs. And don't be surprised if this weekend we can be able to get someone also scoring a century for Uganda. We have players who have the capability to do that. So it should be interesting. I think the only thing that is going to prevent us from having good cricket this weekend in Lugogo will be the weather. But if that holds together and we have good weather, we should be able to see some good runs. Don't be shocked when Uganda is also scoring 300 runs. The team has players who can be able to do that.
Yes, Dennis has promised. Dennis has promised. That's one thing for sure. But I wouldn't promise for that. But I'm very sure Uganda, in scrapping out results, we are very good at that. But anyway, going on to the next game, Italy won their game by 9 wickets. They faced off with Tanzania. Tanzania did try to put on as much runs as they could. They put on a 173 by 10, stroke 10. Those are 10 wickets. That's, I think, what we call in cricket all out. Yes, all out. Then Italy came on and put on 169 wickets per one wicket. I would like uh, Dennis to explain to me more about the DLS thing, because many of us may not understand what we may be talking about in cricket when we say DLS. Dennis, what is DLS?
So DLS is a calculation system that two mathematicians came up with. One was called Duckworth, and then the other was called Lewis Smith, I think. But they came up with a system because of the reductions we were talking about, losing overs and resources. It was always very difficult to come up with the right number of overs. So sometimes teams would be like, Jeremiah, utuba, now just and then we can't play. So they came up with a system. Now we have a system where you cannot argue about the system. All the umpires do is go to that system. It's called a DLS calculator. You go to that system and you say, by the time the rain came, Jeremiah's team had played 10 overs. They had 10 runs. And then it will give you the answer that you want. That from here on, Jeremiah's team can only play for an extra 5 overs. And maybe we can increase their score from 10 to 15. And they get, so it's just a DLS. That calculator comes into play, especially when overs are reduced. If you play a full 50 over game, it was not necessary. But the moment the umpires reduce the number of overs, then you have to use a Duckworth-Lewis. The short form is DLS, but it's Duckworth-Lewis system. So as long as the moment the umpires say the game has been reduced from 50 to 49, then DLS comes into play. So it's just they thought it's a fair way of making sure that a team that has lost, maybe you've lost some overs, they try and compensate you for that. But that system only also favors you if you haven't lost a lot of wickets. So I'll explain it using yesterday's game. Yesterday, the game was reduced to 45 overs, the game between Italy and Tanzania, the one we're talking about. Yeah. So the moment the overs are reduced, meaning we have to have DLS. That's the first principle. So now, but DLS won't come into play until the first innings are done. So Tanzania had to play until they were all out in, I think, 43.3 overs. Once they were all out, then they had to bring in the system. So they were feeling, Tanzania has been able to get 173. They've lost 10 wickets in these many overs. So DLS does its maths to see what is the right total that Tanzania should have gotten if they were able to play their 50 overs. Unfortunately for Tanzania, and where DLS is unfair, if you're all out, then you're in trouble. If you lose so many wickets, the DLS score keeps reducing. So it's normally a plus or minus, but if you lose so many wickets, then it will become a minus. But if you don't lose so many wickets, then it is a plus. So Tanzania, who are able to get 173, their score was reduced to 169 by DLS. So Italy was going to chase 169 instead of 173 Tanzania had scored. So in essence, Tanzania lost. But if they had probably played all their 45 overs and lost about 7 wickets, that it could have been, and they have finished on 173 for 7 in 45 overs. Yeah. DLS would have added them something because you lost your overs. I'm trying to compensate for what you lost. So they could have maybe been given 185. It's normally not so much, but at least you get a plus instead of... so if you lose all your wickets, you will get a minus. But if you keep some of your wickets, at least you will get a plus. Plus 2, plus 1, plus 3. So Tanzania's score in that game yesterday, because of DLS, was reduced from 173 to 169.
This is how hard it is in cricket. I thought it would be easier when they reduce the overs and you're somewhere, maybe all out wouldn't be considered. But anyway, that's the game, and that's how it's calculated. Dennis, I would like us to dive into the next games coming up in the round 2 of this first round of the ICC Cricket World Cup Challenge League B. And let's start with Uganda. Uganda is going to face off with Tanzania on Saturday, which is tomorrow. What can we expect from the performances you've seen coming from Tanzania and Uganda?
I think I saw Tanzania playing yesterday. For Tanzania, for them, this is a new experience. Tanzania is one of the teams that got promoted in the Challenge League. So, and you get promoted into the Challenge League based on your T20 performances. So they don't play a lot of 50-over cricket. While Uganda, we've played a lot more 50-over cricket, so we are more experienced in this format. So Tanzania is still struggling to adapt to 50-over cricket. Yesterday they had close to 30 overs of dot balls, and they only scored, imagine they scored 173 runs from 15 overs. from only 15 overs. So that shows a team that is used to playing what? Playing T20 cricket. And that is what is hurting them. So the experience of Uganda tomorrow should be able to get them the result. I think they are the favorites against Tanzania. Tanzania is still learning, and for them, if they able to win tomorrow, they will take the result. But I don't think they will feel so bad even if they don't lose, even if they don't win. They're still learning how to play 50-over cricket, how to adapt to the different conditions here. But they have some very aggressive batters who know Ugandan bowlers. I think that is the advantage for them. They understand. They're not afraid. They are not afraid of Juma Miyagi. They're not afraid of Cosmas Chauta. They will come after them. And the difference, because they are playing in Lugogo, is if they can score enough runs for Uganda not to take them down. But they have the knowledge of playing against a team that they know very well. And that is the other advantage for them. The difference will just be in the application. Can they be able to sustain 50-over cricket rather than try and play T20 cricket in a 50-over match? So I think that will be the big difference between those two teams. But Uganda knows that Tanzania is a team that can hurt them. They have some very good spinners who can get you out. So that is, and Uganda, sometimes we look suspect against slow bowling. Because yesterday, I think they only played one medium pacer. The rest of the bowlers were spinners. So they have about, out of the 50 overs, they have about 40 overs of slow bowling. And very good slow bowlers at that, not just someone rolling their arm over. Very good bowlers. So Uganda needs to be careful, not to take them for granted. They might be the favorites, but I mean the battle is always on between batter and ball. It's not in words, so they need to just be careful. But if Uganda is able to show up, they should be able to. They should easily win tomorrow's game.
After Uganda, I think the next game we will be looking at will be Hong Kong playing against Italy. Hong Kong, would I be right if I say high scoring Hong Kong against an Italy that we have not seen very well of much of it, apart from that game Uganda played against them in Kamengo, which was kind of a practice game. What should we expect?
I mean, I think that's the peak of the game on match day number 3. Italy taking on Hong Kong. Both teams have won a game. Hong Kong beat Bahrain. Italy dominated, total domination against Tanzania. And that win for Italy, 9-wicket win, sent a message to the rest of the teams that they are here to mean business. They have the most experienced team in this tournament, Italy. Some seasoned campaigners, guys who played in county cricket in the UK. County cricket is one of the top leagues in cricket. Guys who have played in the Big Bash in Australia, one of the top leagues in the world. So they have a lot of experience in that team, Italy. And Hong Kong will need to play very, very well to take them down. And now, especially they are playing in Entebbe, a ground where runs don't come easy. You have to work hard. You have to run hard between the wickets. You need to bowl well in the good areas. So for me, that is going to be the peak of the matches on match day number 3. I would fancy Italy to get a result if they show up against Hong Kong.
You would fancy Italy. On my side, I do not know how much it would be, but I think it would be a very, very tight game. According to the books, if I've not gone to the Oval to watch, but according to the books, I think it would be a tight one. But anyway, next will be Uganda versus Hong Kong, and I think it would be a talk that one would like to have after this game where Italy would face Hong Kong to see how strong they would be after. But what would you expect by now, even before the games tomorrow?
Yeah, in the previous Challenge League, Uganda won 2 and lost 1 to Hong Kong. And the one they lost was in Kampala. I remember it was in Chambogo. We scored about, I think, 96. Very low score, and Hong Kong easily got home. But the last time the two teams met was in Jersey. Uganda with the record total of 390, 200s for Simon Sesaz and Arnold Otwani. So maybe Hong Kong will be thinking, we'll have recent memory favors Uganda. But Hong Kong have played a lot of cricket before they came to Kampala. A lot of not just cricket, but high quality cricket. They've been playing in the Asia Cup. They have players who have been playing in the Hong Kong Sixes. So they've been playing a lot of high quality cricket, not just a lot of cricket. So I think they're very well prepared for this tournament. They want to do well. They are hosting the next round, so they want to make sure that at the end of the first round, they have not lost so many games so that they can go home and consolidate and maybe probably finish among the top two teams. So for me, throughout this weekend, those two games are going to be the test for Uganda, Hong Kong and Italy. The other teams, Uganda can fancy themselves, but they know the two teams they need to get past Hong Kong and Italy. And it's going to be very, very important that on that day Uganda brings their A game. As simple as that. If you don't, Hong Kong is going to take you on. They won't care about how many people have filled up Lugogo. The fans may end up cheering for them because of how they will play. So it's going to be very important that Riyazat Alisha and his boys show up against Hong Kong. I think that's going to be the big test for them because Hong Kong has some very good bowlers, but they also have some quality batters in that team. Normally the games between these two teams, when we scored at 390 against them, they were coming after that total when we were in Jersey. They were still scoring at 10 runs every over. They must have, they ran out of resources, but they were showing intent that they can be able to get a result against Uganda. So Hong Kong, and this weekend, if Uganda is able to win both games, that would mean after 4 match days, Uganda will have at least 3 wins. So that would put them in a very good step, good place, and give them confidence. If you don't want to lose to Hong Kong when your next game is Italy, so you want to make sure that you finish this by the halfway stage of the tournament, you at least have 3 out of 3, and then the final 2, even if they go either way, you still finish in a very good place. Because if you lose to Hong Kong and then Italy is your next game and you also lose that, meaning you'll have just lost 1-2 games, and then it puts you on pressure to make sure you beat Bahrain to try and stay in touch with the teams that beat you and they don't go away so far away from you. So Hong Kong is going to be a test not just for the team but the team mentality. Are they ready to go to the next level? This is one of the games that is going to test that mentality.
I was having a couple of looks at my fixture, and I think we shall be back here on Monday to round up this second round. However, as I was looking for Bahrain to see when they play next, and the fixture also indicates Sunday, where they will face Singapore, and I do not think Singapore is one of those threats or one of those countries that would scare Bahrain. When you look at how Bahrain have been playing since the practice games in Jinja up to this time. Anyway, you might have a different thought about the game. What do you think? Bahrain, Singapore.
I think Singapore came with a very young side. The intention for them is to develop that side and grow the players. This is going to be a tough experience for them. Some of them maybe have never even come to Africa and things like that. So they are just developing their team. There are very many under-19 boys in that team. They are genuinely young when you look at them on face. So for them, they are not thinking. I think their expectations are not very high. They are managing the expectations, but they will come and play hard cricket. They were unfortunate that Uganda, they never scored so many runs against Uganda. But even in the 85, they showed signs of being very, very good players. And so I think if Bahrain drops the ball, they will be able to win the game. But on the context of both teams, Bahrain are really the favorites in that one.
Yes, Bahrain are really the favorites, and I too think they have an edge over Singapore. But this has been our time. Mugalu Jeremiah is my name, and I've been with Dennis Musali. Dennis, what can you tell the viewer out there, or what would you think someone would love to hear? Because in Uganda, we have many cultures, but most of the time, it's like when you find a lady on the way, there are many things that you would like to say to her, but most of the time, there are those things you think about and you would love to tell them what they would love to hear more than what they would not want to hear. So the many Ugandans there, many would have second thoughts about coming to Lugogo, but any last words are for them?
Yeah, I think, Jeremiah, when you are speaking about ladies, you are speaking for yourself. But very importantly, I think even the first time I had this conversation, I mentioned that one of the key standout weekends for Uganda, one of the standout fixtures for Uganda in this tournament will be this weekend. So I want to call out everyone. If you have time, our Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to probably 4 p.m. if they are very good competitive games, please make your way to the Lugogo Cricket Oval. Interest is absolutely free. We've taken care of that. We are making sure that they are, everything is available for you and comfortable when you come here. Maybe there will be a small change when you come to Lugogo. We are not going to use the pavilion that like we normally call it, because of security purposes, safety purposes, not security. But we're going to have enough seating for everyone who's going to come through and support the team. So don't be alarmed when you come here and they are telling you, please kindly do not sit here. Don't feel like but it's just a safety precaution. We want people to be safe and watch the game in a safe manner as we cheer for our team. But this is going to be sort of like a sliding door moment for the Ugandan team this weekend, and they will need your support. They need the support of everyone who can be able to come. On Sunday, you can go for early morning service, and you still be here by 10 a.m. to watch the game. You first go pray for the team, and then you come and watch the cricket. So we hope that people can come through this weekend. The boys need our support. The rally has always been, let's be the 12th man. So the boys need our support. For everyone who can make time, please come through. And for those that can't make time, maybe you're working up country anywhere. Today is a Friday, I think. You put Gaga weekend. The games are available on ICC TV, ICC.tv if you put it in the browser, or you can download the ICC TV app for you to be able to watch the game. So simple, whichever way, the boys need our support this weekend, and hopefully we can have as many people as possible coming through to support the boys.
Yes, thank you very much, Dennis. Mugalu Jeremiah once again has been my name, and this is the site. Like, follow, comment, subscribe. Beyond that to be